I think one of the most interesting things to me is that Ybarra's gone.
Yeah.
Which means Blizzard, for the next little while until they get a president, is rudderless. So it's wondering who is going to be the new president. Is it going to be someone internally, or is it likely going to be someone that Microsoft will install? And then you kind of go, well, how does that work for survivorship? How does that work for the direction of the company as a whole? Because obviously one of the things was, I've seen people suggest that Ybarra being originally, 20 years of Microsoft, people going,
Not the case.
Yeah, not the case there. I've seen
As in, like,
yeah.
I think people have already said online, I've heard from people that is not true. Not popular there.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a, do we get someone who will be in the best interest of Blizzard as we know them? And we'll hold that. And obviously, whoever's going to be there is going to have Blizzard's best interest in mind, but it is a case of who's the person who's going to greenlight smaller Warcraft projects and have them greenlit. And, because as Ybarra was saying, when it comes to like Phil Spencer, like his kind of leadership, it was, at least on paper, it was supposed to be if they have any good projects that they want to go for, it's up to them to do it. So it's like, are we going to get a president that'll be like, let's do a rough example, Warcraft 4. Or, obviously it's not something to that degree, I imagine, ever. But even like the small spin-off game or anything along those lines. Or if they're going to get a president that's going to be, we will extract as much value as possible from existing IP.
I mean, screw it. Let's just get right into the. I'm trying to think like how to. I suppose divide things up today. What I can say is our team have been like monitoring this constantly since the news broke yesterday. So between like what's here in our stream show notes, the stuff that I've covered over. On the news channel, there will be a video going live there very shortly today. We pretty much know kind of everything there is to know that's at least public. I'm not sharing anything that I have heard in a super specific way from people that I know, but I will attempt to use things that I know to communicate sort of vibes and perspectives that will be useful for you to know. Is probably the right way of putting that.
I imagine so, yeah.
Okay, right, Mike Ybarra, let's get that started. So, number one thing, Mike Ybarra gets appointed alongside Jen O'Neill. So, Mike Ybarra was heading up Battle.net over at Blizzard. Jen O'Neill was the studio head of Vicarious Visions. It was renamed Blizzard Albany. And she worked her way up, I believe, from being QA.
Yes.
Now, that is a career path that is not really a thing these days.
It's impossible nowadays, like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it doesn't happen because all of this, and we'll talk about it later, but that's all being outsourced. I literally, like, talking to people in other studios, like, completely aside from this story, who have had, whatever QA support they were supposed to have essentially be outsourced. It really does seem that is a complete shit show when it does happen. So that's kind of what happens. Jen O'Neill leaves really, really quickly. It's like a small number of months. A token, like, it was over, essentially, I think it was, well, there are things that we will never know. And it's quite tricky. I've heard that when that went down, there was just a lot of Ybarra sitting quietly. But I cannot confirm that. I was not in the room. And, it's like when you hear about something from somebody who you know is closer to the story, to the story than you, but you also know they weren't there. It's like you can't really sort of report it as like big true facts. But anyway, some form of drama goes on there. Obviously, this is J. Allen Brack being Yote in the bin because he is implicated in being... I guess being soft on Alex Afrasiabi, I think, during the whole, Californian TFEH case. That department has since renamed, but that's neither here nor there. So, right, that happens. Obviously, these are like the Activision picks. Now, context there, like sort of financial control, stuff like that at Blizzard had been encroaching for years. I have talked with numerous, not just in development roles, and this is like, a few years ago, but like plenty of people are like, no, it's right. The things like, yes, maybe the gamers don't have all the nuance, but basically a lot of what they're saying is kind of right. So that's the sort of thing that was going on. I think with Ybarra, you do see more of kind of APK corporate moving in, which does make sense. They did appoint him, right? So, and, you know, while he had been at Blizzard, he wasn't sort of like OG, which is probably something that they wanted. They wouldn't want somebody who was tainted by being OG Blizzard. So anyway, right, that happens. Ybarra kind of makes a tit out of himself in at least one employee QA. This is about the return to office policy. Of course.
God, that was so long ago.
Yeah, now we'll get into that because that RTO policy meant that a lot of people then had to move to California to continue their job. And obviously, if they now don't have a job, then that is just like, yeah, they've been profoundly screwed around by the company.
You're just in California now. You're like, sweet, guess it's me now.
Task number 1, no longer be in California.
Yeah, so if you got the money for it, like.
You don't have the money to stay in California.
Ah, that's true, yeah.
So true. All that happens. Now, I had heard on some grapevines that Ybarra was not popular whatsoever at Microsoft, which certainly then made watching BlizzCon interesting. So it's like, I don't know how much that is true, but the thing that's very notable, right? Yeah, let's remember at BlizzCon, Ybarra said basically, you know, I'm here for the future. You know, they'll have to drag me out. He's now gone, and well, I have heard it from numerous people that like it is not voluntary. I mean, he was booted, right? So I my current, like, this is not a claim of fact. This is my current opinion, is that it is more likely true than false that he was shown the door. This is something that I already thought before I heard from numerous individuals backing it up. The reason why I thought that is because he said they will have, you know, they'd have to drag me out. I'm going to be here for years. And then, like, that was at BlizzCon. And what, like a month and a half, 2 months later, he's gone. Yeah,
well, either he changed his mind very quickly or someone made him change his mind. And I think that's the... Either way, it's like if change is so profound that you decide to leave after promising not to, then I think you're in a... You know, you're in that fun case of, like, I don't know if you've ever watched, like, The Thick of It or Yes Minister or any, like, political shows and, like, comedies in the UK. But it's very much a case of, and someone walks into your office and says, draw up a letter of resignation, please. And that's not a request. That's you get to see a face on the way out here, big man. That's it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I have no idea, but I mean, it's clear as day if you are saying, I will be dragged out. I am now gone. Interesting.
Like, Jason Schreier picked up on it immediately. He tweeted, Ybarra told me that he wanted to stay for the long haul. Someone will drag me out of Blizzard. Ybarra told me. That's how long I will be here. So, yeah, Jason Schreier's just... He's like, no, this does not square with what I heard very recently, directly from the person involved. Now... What is the ousted president doing? Well, the good news is it involves traveling the world and hyper growth opportunities. I don't know about you, Matt, but I absolutely love pursuing blue sky HGOs. I mean, all day. I just wake up. I'm like, it's time for a hyper growth opportunity.
The hamster in the wheel is running. It's not running very fast. I can't quite get a steroid joke out of hypergrowth opportunities, but I could certainly see it. Is there a reason Phil's so big? Is he on the human growth hormone as well? So I don't know. Like, there is certainly
just every time he like goes and every time he does an event, Phil just like, you know, it's like 2% bigger, so nobody notices it until you're like, what the? How is Phil Spencer suddenly 8 feet tall and a Goliath?
Yeah, I guess the thing is, people are really... they're looking at this, and obviously this is LinkedIn. This is obviously just corporate speak as well.
LinkedIn,
but
also known as Hell on Earth.
Yeah, everyone has to be fake and do this stuff, but it looks like everyone's sitting going, well, you're out. Okay, well, what about all of the other people that aren't going to take time out to spend time with family and travel the world, who may not be able to look for hyper growth opportunities because they're just been laid off in a business environment where there are no jobs for them to go to, which is something we'll have to talk about a little bit about as well. But it is certainly just later exits the company, goes, I've decided to transition out and I'll go have a great time. Goodbye.
Ultimately, I mean, oh God, going to give Taliesin a big chub by saying this. This kind of comes off as an issue of class, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the point. This is like the people in the class that he's talking to, that he's addressing here, they do not view, they don't really view sort of the people impacted today as
people.
See, that's the weird thing. It's like they do, but do you know what it reminds me of? And I've been rewatching old South Park lately. Come on, Michael. It's the episode where Kyle's dad is like basically explains like, there's people like us, and then there's people like Kenny's family.
Of course, yes.
And that joke pays off quite well at the end. But it does come off like that. It's just sort of like that level of tone deafness, right? That like lack of consideration. And sort of, do you know what it is, right? It's like posting that. Assuming you're not very stupid, you're going to know what people will say about this.
Well, that's a flag in the ground.
Yeah, so the literal point here is know and don't care. That's why it was posted. Mm-hmm. That's, I suppose, why I say it's a kind of like, it's a class issue.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking like object-oriented programming. I'm thinking like, these are both of type that, but everything else is different. It's like we're all of type human, but every other property I have is different to you people.
Yeah,
it's like, what it feels like.
Yeah, and this is him very publicly sticking his waving the flag of the people he's very much with, which are his business cohorts, and as opposed to the the team that built Blizzard and ATVI over the years, because they clearly he didn't. Even maybe there was some situation where he maybe tried to negotiate to keep what he's doing, but. If you send it like this, you're like, I'm out. Goodbye. I will have no part of that, which is just, I don't think there's too much more to say about it. Just the president is gone and clearly not that upset about it, and is probably going to land more than well on his feet, just like everyone else who seems to leave these above a certain echelon. It's like as soon as you get above a certain level of executive, leaving is not an opportunity-seeking affair, or at least something that you're going to end up vaguely profitable, if nothing else. Versus, I'm out of a job now. Shit.
Now, of course, there is another question to this. Why was he fired?
Because
not literally. I know he was fired, but like, why does it seem like he was asked to sign a resignation letter?
Well, I have the answer, right? And I think everyone will understand exactly when I say this. Remember the speech he gave at BlizzCon? If that's emblematic of how passionate and strong he appears to be with Blizzard himself, I could see it. I've just been like, nah, we're going to have someone a bit more active and energetic and capable.
I actually have no idea. I can't remember that speech at all.
Exactly.
Not that I want to be like over-indexing, like you have to be a certain, like loud, boisterous, rumbly, deep voice thing.
It's not even that. To me, it's just like you watch and you go, because even if someone's a bit quiet and someone a bit, kind of there, like as an example, compared to Ian presenting at BlizzCon, and Ian was an absolute change man and like doing an exceptional job as like game director and communicating his game is great, and you could feel the energy and the vibes were good and strong and let's go do this. Obviously Metzen being Metzen, he's in a different class because he's a storyteller, so that's a bit of a other thing, but at the same time it was like Ybarra just didn't really give off great vibes, And I'm very big into reading the vibes of people. And not that I do it, but I'm saying if you get a vibe off someone, there's probably something telling you that's right. So if he's a wee bit not super exactly there, or you don't get a great level of confidence from him,
there's like some
then
spooky evolutionary like little bit of your brain that's like, I don't know, the vibe cube.